I didn't sleep well that night. Or the next. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Claire's smile, her laughter with Daniel, the way she had brushed me off like I was nothing. By morning I was already exhausted, but anger kept me going. Dude, you okay? Emma's voice pulled me from my thoughts the next afternoon. She leaned against my doorframe, arms crossed. You've been MIA for days. I groaned and rubbed my temples. No, I'm not okay. Claire, she's moved on like it's nothing. And Daniel. I can't stand him. Emma sighed. I get it. I really do. But bro, obsessing over it isn't going to fix anything. I don't care about fixing anything, I snapped. I can't believe she could do that to me. To us. Emma frowned. It's not just you. You guys had a thing, yeah, but people change. She made her choice. She made her choice, but it feels like she humiliated me. Right in front of everyone. And Daniel, he knows it. My hand shook. I can see it on his face, he enjoys it. Every stupid smug grin. Emma stepped closer, softening. Look, you're letting this eat you alive. You need to. Need to what? I interrupted, voice low. Act like it's fine? Pretend I'm okay while she posts pictures with him? Look at this. I threw my phone on the table. There it was, Claire and Daniel laughing in a cafe, their hands brushing, her eyes sparkling like she didn't care about me at all. Emma picked up the phone, her brow furrowed. Wow, that's harsh. Harsh? It's a knife in my chest every time I see it. I ran a hand through my hair, pacing. And the worst part? I trusted her. I thought I knew her. I gave everything. Emma sat down on the edge of the couch. I know, but you're stronger than this. You just need to channel it, not let it destroy you. Channel it? I muttered. You have no idea how much rage is inside me. How worthless she made me feel. I replay every conversation, every smile, every touch, trying to figure out where I went wrong. Emma placed a hand on my shoulder. Maybe you didn't go wrong. Maybe you just weren't enough for what she wanted. That's her problem, not yours. I shook my head. No, it's not just about her. It's Daniel too. That smug bastard. He thinks he won without even trying. I need to be better. Stronger. Smarter. Better how? Emma asked cautiously. Better in every way. I can't let them see me crumble. I won't. Not anymore. I clenched my fist. I've been too soft, too trusting. I let people walk over me. I let her walk over me. Daniel, he'll regret ever thinking he's superior. Emma blinked, a little worried. You're talking about revenge? Maybe, I said, pacing again. I don't know yet. I just know I can't sit here and let my life be a joke. Days blurred together. Every post from Claire felt like salt in the wound. I noticed the way Daniel tagged her, the way he captioned every picture like he owned her. I started analyzing everything, their body language, her expressions, his arrogance. I cataloged it all in my head, testing my patience, watching my own reactions. I found myself standing in front of the mirror one night, practicing. Not smiles, not normal expressions, but the face of someone who couldn't be broken. You're going to change, I whispered to my reflection. You're going to make sure they see exactly who you are, and who they lost. The next morning I called Mr. Lewis, my mentor from work. I need advice, I said, keeping my voice calm. On what? He asked, his tone curious. On becoming someone better, smarter, stronger. Not just physically but in life. I can't let betrayal define me. Mr. Lewis chuckled softly. You're angry. That's natural. But don't let anger make you reckless. Focus it. Use it to sharpen yourself, not destroy yourself. I will, I said, determination rising. I want to be untouchable. No one manipulates me again. No one laughs at me. And one day, Claire and Daniel will see what they've lost. Good, he said. Start small. Discipline. Focus. Build yourself. Everything else follows. I hung up and stared out the window, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. Something inside me had shifted. Anger was still there, but now it was mixed with purpose. I wasn't a victim anymore. I wouldn't be. Emma checked in later that evening. You look different, she said. Calmer. But more intense. I smirked faintly. Calm? Maybe. Intense? Definitely. I started planning. Quietly. Testing myself. Preparing for what's next. She gave me a hesitant smile. Just don't lose yourself in it, okay? I won't, I assured her. This is me taking control. Finally. And one day they'll wish they never underestimated me. I sat in the dark, replaying every insult, every humiliation, every smirk. My heart ached, but my mind sharpened. This wasn't just pain. It was the foundation. The start of something bigger. Something I would never let anyone break. And I whispered to myself in the silence, a promise more than a threat. I'm coming back, stronger than ever. I walked into my apartment, expecting Claire to be there with that smile she always wore for me. Instead, the place smelled faintly of perfume that wasn't hers. My stomach twisted. Claire? I called, my voice uneven. Silence answered me. Then I heard it, a notification on my phone. A photo. Claire, laughing, arms wrapped around Daniel in some stupid cafe downtown. My heart stopped. No, this can't be real, I whispered. My hands shook as I stared at the screen. I needed answers. I grabbed my keys and drove to her place, every second feeling like a hammer to my chest. When she opened the door, I barely recognized her expression. It wasn't fear, it was amusement. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. We need to talk. Oh, we do, she said, tilting her head. I thought we already did this, kind of. What do you mean, kind of? I saw the pictures, Claire. You're seeing Daniel? My voice cracked. How could you do this to me? She laughed, a soft, cruel sound that cut through me. Do what to you? I'm not doing anything to you, silly. You're too predictable. Too safe. Daniel, he's exciting. He gets me. I felt my chest tighten. Exciting? You're calling me safe? All these years, you were pretending? I wasn't pretending. I was bored. Her words hit like a slap. You were perfect on paper, yes, but there's no spark. Daniel, he challenges me. Makes me think. Think? You think about him while I couldn't finish. The betrayal was a blade twisting inside me. You'll survive. You always do, she said, brushing past me as if I were nothing more than a piece of furniture. Honestly, I feel sorry for you. You try so hard, but it's just predictable. I grabbed her arm. Don't walk away. Claire, please. Tell me this isn't real. Tell me you're lying. Her laugh was sharp. I'm not lying. I've moved on and you should too. She pulled free, her perfume lingering like poison. I stumbled back, breathing hard. My mind raced. Every memory, the first time we met, the late-night talks, the laughter, it all felt like a lie. I had loved her with everything I had, and she had thrown it away for him. I can't believe this, I muttered. My hands curled into fists. I thought we had something real. We did, she said almost softly. For a while. But some things aren't meant to last. Her indifference burned me worse than her betrayal. I wanted to scream, to hit something, someone. You ruined me, I whispered, my voice trembling. You made me feel like I'm nothing. Claire shrugged, stepping toward the door. You'll get over it. People do. Life goes on. Maybe you'll meet someone better, or maybe you'll stay safe forever. That's your choice. The door clicked shut before I could respond. I sank to the floor, the cold hardwood pressing against my knees. My chest ached, not just from the heartbreak but from anger I didn't know I had. I remembered every conversation we'd had, every promise she made. I went through each smile, each touch, trying to find the moment I had missed. Where did I fail? When did I stop being enough? A laugh escaped me, bitter and hollow. Enough? I whispered. Was I ever enough for you? I stayed there, staring at the empty doorway, feeling the humiliation twist inside me like a living thing. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think straight. All I knew was anger. And a quiet, burning need to show everyone, that I wasn't someone to be toyed with. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. She'll regret this, I muttered. One day she'll wish she never crossed me. Hours passed. My mind replayed every detail, every conversation, every touch. I felt worthless, humiliated, but beneath it all, a spark of something else, something dangerous started to grow. I wasn't done. Not yet. Not by a long shot. And as the night dragged on, I whispered to the darkness, I'll make sure Daniel never forgets my name. And Claire, she'll see what happens when you betray someone who knows exactly how to get even. I didn't sleep well that night. Or the next. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Claire's smile, her laughter with Daniel, the way she had brushed me off like I was nothing. By morning I was already exhausted, but anger kept me going. Dude, you okay? Emma's voice pulled me from my thoughts the next afternoon. She leaned against my doorframe, arms crossed. You've been MIA for days. I groaned and rubbed my temples. No, I'm not okay. Claire, she's moved on like it's nothing. And Daniel, I can't stand him. Emma sighed. I get it. I really do. But bro, obsessing over it isn't going to fix anything. I don't care about fixing anything, I snapped. I can't believe she could do that to me. To us. Emma frowned. It's not just you. You guys had a thing, yeah, but people change. She made her choice. She made her choice, but it feels like she humiliated me. Right in front of everyone. And Daniel, he knows it. My hand shook. I can see it on his face, he enjoys it. Every stupid smug grin. Emma stepped closer, softening. Look, you're letting this eat you alive. You need to. Need to what? I interrupted, voice low. Act like it's fine? Pretend I'm okay while she posts pictures with him? Look at this. I threw my phone on the table. There it was, Claire and Daniel laughing in a cafe, their hands brushing, her eyes sparkling like she didn't care about me at all. Emma picked up the phone, her brow furrowed. Wow, that's harsh. Harsh? It's a knife in my chest every time I see it. I ran a hand through my hair, pacing. And the worst part? I trusted her. I thought I knew her. I gave everything. Emma sat down on the edge of the couch. I know, but you're stronger than this. You just need to channel it, not let it destroy you. Channel it? I muttered. You have no idea how much rage is inside me. How worthless she made me feel. I replay every conversation, every smile, every touch, trying to figure out where I went wrong. Emma placed a hand on my shoulder. Maybe you didn't go wrong. Maybe you just weren't enough for what she wanted. That's her problem, not yours. I shook my head. No, it's not just about her. It's Daniel too. That smug bastard. He thinks he won without even trying. I need to be better. Stronger. Smarter. Better how? Emma asked cautiously. Better in every way. I can't let them see me crumble. I won't. Not anymore. I clenched my fist. I've been too soft, too trusting. I let people walk over me. I let her walk over me. Daniel, he'll regret ever thinking he's superior. Emma blinked, a little worried. You're talking about revenge? Maybe, I said, pacing again. I don't know yet. I just know I can't sit here and let my life be a joke. Days blurred together. Every post from Claire felt like salt in the wound. I noticed the way Daniel tagged her, the way he captioned every picture like he owned her. I started analyzing everything, their body language, her expressions, his arrogance. I cataloged it all in my head, testing my patience, watching my own reactions. I found myself standing in front of the mirror one night, practicing. Not smiles, not normal expressions, but the face of someone who couldn't be broken. You're going to change, I whispered to my reflection. You're going to make sure they see exactly who you are, and who they lost. The next morning I called Mr. Lewis, my mentor from work. I need advice, I said, keeping my voice calm. On what? He asked, his tone curious. On becoming someone better, smarter, stronger. Not just physically but in life. I can't let betrayal define me. Mr. Lewis chuckled softly. You're angry. That's natural. But don't let anger make you reckless. Focus it. Use it to sharpen yourself, not destroy yourself. I will, I said, determination rising. I want to be untouchable. No one manipulates me again. No one laughs at me. And one day, Claire and Daniel will see what they've lost. Good, he said. Start small. Discipline. Focus. Build yourself. Everything else follows. I hung up and stared out the window, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. Something inside me had shifted. Anger was still there, but now it was mixed with purpose. I wasn't a victim anymore. I wouldn't be. Emma checked in later that evening. You look different, she said. Calmer. But more intense. I smirked faintly. Calm? Maybe. Intense? Definitely. I started planning. Quietly. Testing myself. Preparing for what's next. She gave me a hesitant smile. Just don't lose yourself in it, okay? I won't, I assured her. This is me taking control. Finally. And one day they'll wish they never underestimated me. I sat in the dark, replaying every insult, every humiliation, every smirk. My heart ached, but my mind sharpened. This wasn't just pain. It was the foundation. The start of something bigger. Something I would never let anyone break. And I whispered to myself in the silence, a promise more than a threat. I'm coming back, stronger than ever. I hadn't planned on seeing them that night. The event was supposed to be harmless networking, free drinks, fake smiles. Then I heard her laugh. I turned, and there they were, Claire leaning into Daniel, his hand resting confidently on her waist. Lucas nudged me. You good, man? You just froze. I'm fine, I said, forcing a calm tone. Just didn't expect to see familiar faces. Lucas followed my gaze and raised an eyebrow. Ah, X situation. Something like that, I replied, jaw tight. Claire spotted me then. Her smile faltered for half a second before she recovered. Daniel leaned closer to her, whispering something that made her laugh again. That laugh didn't hurt the same way it used to. Instead, something clicked inside me. Lucas tilted his head. You look focused, not angry. That's new. I am angry, I said quietly. But I'm done being invisible. I watched Daniel shake hands with people, acting like he owned the room. I listened to Claire praise him loudly, like she needed everyone to hear. And suddenly I understood something clearly. Sitting back wasn't strength. Waiting wasn't dignity. Acting was. Lucas handed me a drink. So what's your move? My move, I repeated. I stopped being the guy people overlook. That night I spoke to everyone. I introduced myself with confidence I didn't know I had. I listened carefully, asked smart questions, laughed at the right moments. When someone mentioned a project opportunity, I leaned in instead of backing away. You're sharp, a senior manager said. Why haven't we worked together before? I smiled. Guess I didn't put myself out there enough. Lucas grinned afterward. Where was this version of you hiding? Buried, I replied. Not anymore. The next morning I looked at myself differently. You're changing, I told my reflection. No more excuses. I updated my resume, refined my goals, and started staying late, not out of desperation but intention. At work, I challenged ideas instead of agreeing blindly. I think there's a better approach, I said during a meeting. Silence followed, then nods. Later, Lucas clapped my shoulder. You just stole the room. No, I said. I earned it. Small victories followed. A successful presentation. A new responsibility. Praise that wasn't forced. Each step rebuilt something inside me. I upgraded my wardrobe, fixed my posture, spoke slower. People noticed. Emma called one night. You sound different, she said. Different how? Confident. Like you finally believe in yourself. I do, I said honestly. And I won't go back. A week later, I ran into Claire again. She glanced at me, clearly surprised. You look good, she said. Thanks, I replied calmly. Life's been productive. Daniel stood beside her, eyes narrowing slightly. Didn't know you were in this circle, he said. I expanded, I answered. Opportunities do that. The silence was brief but satisfying. Claire searched my face like she was trying to recognize me. She couldn't. That felt powerful. Later Lucas laughed. You see his face? I did, I said. And I didn't feel petty. I felt free. That's when the plan truly formed. Not to hurt them, not to embarrass them, but to rise so far above their expectations that they'd feel it without me saying a word. I sat alone that night, writing goals instead of grievances. This isn't revenge, I told myself. It's reclamation. Every step forward sharpened my resolve. Every achievement erased a piece of the humiliation. I wasn't chasing them anymore. I was building something undeniable. And as I closed my notebook, one thought settled firmly in my mind. I didn't need to destroy anyone to win. I just needed to become impossible to ignore. I noticed her first at the charity gala, standing with Daniel and his usual entourage, laughing as if the world revolved around them. My pulse quickened, not from longing but from clarity. I had changed. I wasn't invisible anymore. Lucas leaned beside me, whispering, You really going in there? I am, I said. But this time it's on my terms. We walked through the crowd and I caught snippets of conversations. People I had ignored before now nodded at me politely, smiling with genuine recognition. That small validation fueled me. Claire's eyes flicked toward me. I could feel her curiosity, maybe even concern. Her posture shifted, subtly, like a shield had gone up. I smirked inside. That was the first crack. Daniel approached, grinning, hand extended. Hey, hadn't expected to see you here. Surprises happen, I said smoothly, shaking his hand firmly. Lucas elbowed me lightly. Nice comeback. I smiled faintly. Thanks. Throughout the evening, I navigated the social currents carefully. I asked questions, remembered names, and complimented sincerely. Nothing forced, nothing obvious. People gravitated toward me naturally. A friend of Daniel's, Mark, sidled up. You've been busy, he said. I hear about your latest project. Impressive work. I nodded, keeping my tone casual. Yeah, it's been a challenge but worth it. Feels good to see results finally recognized. Mark's smile faltered slightly. I didn't realize you had that side. Most don't, I replied, letting the words hang lightly in the air. Later I caught Claire watching me again. Her smile didn't reach her eyes this time. I approached her casually. "Claire," I said, tilting my head. "Good to see you." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "You look different." "Confidence," I said simply. "It's a work in progress." Her laugh was short, forced. "Well, you're noticeable." "Better noticeable than forgettable," I said. Her eyes flicked to Daniel, who was busy telling some story loudly. I leaned closer, voice quiet enough for her to hear. "You know, I've been thinking about how people underestimate what they don't see. Funny how that works." She frowned slightly, unsure if I was serious. That hesitation was satisfying. Throughout the evening, I started dropping hints, subtle ones. A compliment to one of Daniel's friends about a project I had led, a quick comment about an upcoming industry event that I was attending, casual references to connections I had made. Nothing overt, but enough to make people pause, reassess, and start talking. Emma texted me later. "You're playing the long game, aren't you?" I smiled at the message. "Yes," carefully. By the end of the night, whispers floated through the circle. Daniel's usual air of control had dimmed slightly. He was still charming, still loud, but the ease with which he dominated conversations had faltered. Claire noticed too. I could see it in her glance, sharp but guarded. Lucas leaned in as we left. "They notice you now." "Even her." I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. "They have to. And that's just the beginning." Over the next few weeks I kept planting seeds. Invitations to events where they would be, networking introductions at dinners, subtle recommendations for projects that positioned me favorably. I observed reactions closely. Every raised eyebrow, every pause, every flicker of uncertainty, they were evidence of progress. Claire's post changed too. Instead of flaunting carefree confidence, there were moments where she hesitated, like she was calculating. She caught glimpses of me in social media circles, professional updates that couldn't be ignored. Her friends started asking questions. Even Daniel began checking subtly, nervously, his arrogance faltering in small, almost imperceptible ways. One evening, Claire cornered me at a launch party, her tone controlled but sharp. "You've been busy." "I have," I replied, smiling faintly. "It's nice when effort actually gets noticed." Her eyes narrowed. "So you're serious about this transformation?" "Absolutely," I said calmly. "It's taken time, patience, and focus. But it's worth it to finally be seen for who I really am." She stepped back slightly, the confidence she once wore so effortlessly now fraying at the edges. Daniel joined, his grin strained. "You've changed," he said, attempting nonchalance. "Yes," I said, meeting his gaze evenly. "I have. And I'm just getting started." Walking away, I felt the surge of power and clarity. This wasn't cruelty. It wasn't petty revenge. It was reclamation, subtle and precise. Every small victory, every shift in perception strengthened me. They couldn't dismiss me now, not without seeing the force I had become. And as I looked back at them, I whispered to myself quietly, "They'll see. Soon enough, they'll see exactly who they underestimated." I had been waiting for the right moment, and it finally arrived during the quarterly meeting. Daniel strutted in, all confidence and loud jokes, as if the room belonged to him. I sat quietly at the back, letting him soak up the attention, letting the others see the cracks he couldn't. Lucas leaned over. "You ready?" "Perfect timing," I whispered. "Just watch." Daniel launched into his presentation, overcomplicating everything, glossing over numbers he clearly hadn't double-checked. A colleague of his, Mark, glanced at me mid-slide and whispered something I couldn't catch. I smiled slightly. Patience. As Daniel wrapped up, he opened the floor for questions. I raised my hand, calm, composed. "Daniel, can you clarify the projected revenue figures for the East Division? I noticed a discrepancy in the Q2 report," I asked, voice steady. Daniel's grin faltered. Well that's..." I interrupted lightly. "Perhaps a review with accounting would help? I can send over the corrected spreadsheet I prepared last week. It's quite detailed." A few murmurs ran through the room. Daniel's face tightened. I'll look into it." Mark leaned toward me afterward, quiet. "Nice. That was smooth." "Thank you," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. Throughout the day, Daniel's overconfidence began unraveling. Emails went unanswered, minor errors were highlighted in discussions, and subtle comments about professionalism circled through the team. Every time Claire interacted with him online or in person, I could see her brow crease slightly. The smirk she wore with him in public was weakening. Later, at a company mixer, I spotted her across the room. She waved casually, trying to act unaffected. I smiled faintly, walking toward her with Lucas trailing behind. "Claire?" I said lightly. "Busy evening?" "Just catching up," she replied, voice clipped. Her eyes flicked to Daniel, who was nervously explaining something to a client. I let the silence stretch, watching her reaction. You know, it's interesting how quickly things change when someone starts paying attention. Claire's lips pressed together. "What do you mean?" "I mean, perspective," I said. "One moment everything feels secure. The next, cracks appear. It's fascinating how fragile comfort can be." She frowned, realizing I wasn't speaking hypothetically. Daniel's mistakes were becoming visible, and she could see the impact. Her cozy life with him, the effortless admiration she took for granted, was starting to shift. Daniel finally noticed me approaching. "Hey, didn't expect to see you here." His voice carried forced cheerfulness. "Networking," I replied, shaking hands firmly. "And observing." He laughed nervously. "Observing?" "Yes," I said calm. "It's helpful to understand the dynamics around you. Learn who contributes and who distracts." My gaze lingered on him just long enough. I spent the evening planting more subtle seeds. Compliments to the right contacts about my recent projects, casual mentions of my upcoming initiatives, and hints of connections that Daniel overlooked. The murmurs started, people discussing my work, my ideas, my growing influence. Emma texted me quietly, "They're noticing." I smiled at my phone. Exactly. At the end of the night, Claire cornered me in the hallway, her voice low. "You're different. I mean serious. Professional." "I've always been capable," I said, letting the words linger. "I just didn't have the right focus before." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Focus? You've been busy?" "Yes," I said simply. "And sometimes busy means people notice you in ways they didn't expect." She studied me for a moment, and I could see the doubt creeping in. She had assumed my time with Daniel had cemented her comfort, her control. Now she was forced to acknowledge the shift. My growth, my competence, my presence. I left the mixer feeling lighter than I had in months. My satisfaction wasn't in cruelty or humiliation. It was in reclaiming respect, asserting self-worth, and proving that I wasn't a man to dismiss. Lucas caught up with me outside. "You did it? They didn't see it coming?" I nodded. "No, they didn't. And they won't. Not until it's too late." The first strike had been subtle, almost invisible to anyone not paying attention. But the impact was undeniable. Daniel's arrogance had blinded him. Claire's smug security was faltering. My transformation was no longer just about me, it was a force they couldn't ignore. Later that night, I reflected on the events in my apartment. "It's working," I whispered to myself. "They see the change, the confidence, the control. And I haven't even started the main moves." I reviewed every interaction, every subtle exposure. Each one built on the last, forming a foundation for a plan that would be methodical and inescapable. I didn't need to strike out recklessly. Precision, patience, and strategy were far more powerful. I smiled faintly in the darkness. "They underestimated me," I murmured. "And that's going to be their biggest mistake." I spotted Claire across the room first, leaning against the bar, her eyes scanning for familiar faces. When they landed on me, her expression flickered, mockery then hesitation. I was surrounded by colleagues and new contacts, but I felt her focus like a spotlight. She approached, smile forced, voice light. Well, look who decided to show up. Didn't expect you to come to this event." I tilted my head, calm, measured. "I attend when it suits me." Her laugh was brittle. "Suit you? Oh please. You've changed. Can't hide that." I raised an eyebrow. "Change?" "Yes. You know, more confident, sharper." "People notice you now," she said, leaning closer. "Funny. I never thought you'd amount to this." I let her words hang, her tone dripping with sarcasm. And yet here I am. Not asking for anyone's attention. Not begging for validation. Simply being noticed. Her smile faltered slightly. "You're different." "I am," I said softly, deliberately. "And that difference is what you never saw before. You dismissed me once, but dismissing me now, it won't feel the same, will it?" Claire's eyes darted briefly toward Daniel, who was mid-conversation with a client but glancing over nervously. She swallowed and her voice dropped a notch. "It's not fair. You think you can just—" I cut her off, calm, cold. "Fair? Life isn't about fairness, Claire. It's about accountability. About understanding that actions have consequences. You made your choice. You betrayed me. Do you understand what that means?" Her lips trembled. I didn't mean. No, I said firmly. You meant exactly what you did. And now you're forced to watch someone you thought weak rise above. That is the price. Her breathing quickened. You've changed too much. It's like you're untouchable. Untouchable isn't arrogance, I said. It's control. Discipline. Focus. You thought you could humiliate me, make me feel small, manipulate my trust. But I've learned pain isn't weakness. It's fuel. Claire's eyes filled with a flash of panic. Her confidence, once so effortless, was crumbling. I don't understand. How did you? I observed, I said quietly, letting the words cut deeper than any shout. I reflected. I rebuilt. And I refused to let your choices define me. My life, my dignity, my self-worth, it's mine to reclaim. Her hands fumbled with a glass. You're not the same person, she whispered. I shook my head slowly. I'm not. And I never will be. Not because of you, not because of Daniel, not because of anyone else. I changed because I chose to, not because I was hurt. That choice is my power. A few minor characters near us watched in silence. Daniel's expression shifted from irritation to unease, his arrogance cracking. He cleared his throat, trying to interject, but I didn't give him the opening. You'll notice, Daniel, I said, turning my gaze on him briefly. Influence isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. But when it grows, even the arrogant can panic. Daniel swallowed. We'll see, he muttered, but the uncertainty in his voice betrayed him. Claire's shoulders slumped. Her mockery had dissolved into something raw. Fear, doubt, regret. I felt neither triumph nor glee. Instead, I felt clarity. This confrontation wasn't about breaking them. It was about breaking free. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I'm not here to hurt you, Claire. I'm here to exist on my terms. To demonstrate what it means to reclaim a life someone tried to steal from you. That's the lesson you never taught me, but I've learned anyway. She bit her lip, silent, realizing words were useless against someone who had mastered themselves. I continued, my voice soft but unyielding. Betrayal leaves scars, yes. But scars can remind you of your strength. Mine remind me of my resilience, my focus, and my vision. Yours remind you that you can't control everyone, and that some mistakes echo louder than you imagine. Claire's gaze dropped to the floor. Daniel fidgeted beside her, their confidence diminished. The whispers around us grew, people noticing the shift, witnessing the weight of my presence. I turned away, letting the space between us expand. My heart wasn't heavy. My mind wasn't clouded with revenge for its own sake. I had discovered something far more powerful, my own value, unshakable and undeniable. Lucas appeared at my side, murmuring, "That was intense." She felt it, didn't she? I don't want her to feel humiliation, I said quietly. I want her to witness what it means to respect someone. What it means to see the strength you once ignored. We left the room together. Behind me, I could still feel Claire's gaze, her disbelief. Daniel's unease. But the real satisfaction wasn't in their fear, it was in my freedom. In knowing that every step, every calculated move, had reclaimed a piece of myself I thought I'd lost forever. And as we walked away into the night, I whispered quietly to myself, this isn't over. It's only beginning. But now I am unstoppable. I arrived at the gala early, calm, composed, dressed sharply, every detail intentional. I knew Claire and Daniel would arrive later, and I intended to watch the ripple of their mistakes unfold, subtle, precise, inevitable. Lucas leaned beside me, whispering, "You really set this up perfectly. They won't see it coming." "They never do," I replied softly, scanning the room. "It's not about surprise. It's about structure. Karma unfolds fastest when you don't force it." The first hint of unease appeared when Daniel entered, confidence a fraction thinner than usual. He caught sight of me, his smile tight. "You're here early," he said, voice carrying forced cheerfulness. "I like to be prepared," I said, glancing past him. "Organization pays off." Claire followed, waving casually as if she owned the room. But her eyes betrayed her, flicking toward me with thinly disguised tension. I allowed a brief smile. "Nice to see you both." She laughed nervously. "Oh, you too. Looks like you're busy?" "Yes, I am," I said smoothly. "Busy building a reputation instead of depending on someone else's." Daniel's frown tightened. "I don't know what you mean." "Ah, of course," I said, deliberately light. "Just observing how outcomes differ depending on effort and attention to detail." The evening began with cocktails and introductions. I floated through the room, connecting with colleagues and influential contacts. A project I'd quietly led for months was mentioned, my contributions highlighted naturally by casual comments and questions I'd planted beforehand. Whispers of respect trailed me. Mark, one of Daniel's close colleagues, sidled over. You handled that initiative brilliantly. I'm surprised no one mentioned it earlier. Thanks, I said, smiling faintly. Sometimes visibility takes time. I caught Claire watching, her hand gripping her glass. Her eyes narrowed as she followed every move, realizing that my growth had eclipsed the comfortable life she had assumed she shared with Daniel. Daniel, ever the loud one, tried to regain control. Daniel, I interrupted softly but firmly, about the Thompson deal. I noticed some discrepancies in the numbers you presented earlier. I corrected them for the board and forwarded the analysis to the team. The room paused. Colleagues glanced at each other, subtle murmurs spreading. Daniel's face went pale. He faltered. His charm failed him. I gave a small nod, neutral, controlled. We all aim to present our best. Accuracy matters. And reputation matters even more. Claire's eyes widened. Her smug confidence was cracking. How did you? I smiled faintly. I pay attention. I follow through. I act when necessary. That's all. Through the night, every carefully planted comment, every project highlight, every subtle display of competence compounded. Daniel's credibility unraveled in front of the right people. People whose opinions mattered in ways he never anticipated. I noticed Claire's social circle murmuring, exchanging looks of doubt. Invitations she had relied on to maintain influence were quietly rescinded or redirected. Friends who once flattered her now paused, questioning her judgment. Lucas leaned in. She's noticing the shift now. Her friends are already talking. Good, I said softly. Let them witness the consequences of arrogance and disregard. But don't mistake this for vengeance. I'm merely present. A journalist covering the event approached, asking about my recent projects. I answered naturally, casually mentioning initiatives Daniel had mishandled without explicitly pointing fingers. Cameras clicked, microphones recorded, and whispers followed. The evidence of his failures and my competence spread organically. Later, I found Claire near the buffet, her hand trembling slightly as she stirred her drink. I approached calmly. Claire, I said, voice neutral. You seem tense. I don't know what's happening, she said, eyes darting around. Everything, it's all wrong. Yes, I said softly. You see, life has a way of balancing itself. And when attention, effort, and focus align, outcomes become evident. Her lips pressed into a thin line. You're different. I am, I said simply. I don't need to manipulate, to flaunt, to pretend. I let my work, my presence, and my choices speak. Her gaze flicked toward Daniel, who was attempting to explain a failed presentation to a senior executive. Panic had replaced arrogance. Claire's own panic mirrored his. The empire of comfort and control they'd built together was collapsing, quietly, publicly, inevitably. Lucas appeared beside me, whispering, You see? That's the ripple effect. Everything we set in motion. I nodded, eyes fixed on them. It's not cruelty. It's clarity. They're facing the natural outcome of choices made without accountability. By the end of the night, Daniel's credibility had eroded. Claire's social influence was fractured. Their whispered panic and exchanged glances told the story better than any confrontation could. I stood quietly, observing, feeling something I hadn't before. A calm satisfaction tempered with reflection. Power alone is hollow. Dignity, earned and reclaimed, carries weight far beyond humiliation. I had risen above their manipulation, betrayal, and arrogance. Not by striking out, but by building, by mastering myself. I whispered softly, watching the aftermath. This is the reward. Not for them but for me. Respect, self-worth, freedom. And it feels complete. The night ended, the crowd dispersed, and I left with a sense of inner peace. Claire's regret and Daniel's panic lingered behind me, undeniable, but I didn't look back. The chapter of my life defined by betrayal was over. I had reclaimed everything that mattered. And in that reclamation I discovered something far more powerful than revenge. Myself. I stepped into the conference room, confidence steady, head held high. The air felt different now, lighter, charged with possibility. People greeted me warmly, shaking hands, asking about my projects, genuinely interested in my perspective. This was my world now, built on effort, focus, and resilience. Lucas nudged me as we walked past a group of colleagues. You see that? They actually listen when you speak now. I notice, I said, smiling faintly. It's validating. A new colleague, Emily, approached with a folder. I just wanted to say your presentation last week was incredible. You really have a way of simplifying complex problems. Thanks, Emily, I said sincerely. It's about clarity. That's all. Her eyes lit up, genuinely appreciative. Well, it worked. I actually understood the strategy this time. I nodded. That's the goal. Later, as we took a coffee break, I spotted her. Someone entirely new, someone whose presence wasn't tied to my past, but to the person I had become. She smiled as I approached. Hey, she said warmly. I've been hearing a lot about you. I grinned faintly. All good things, I hope. Mostly, she replied, laughing softly. You handle challenges with, I don't know, poise. It's rare. Poise comes with experience, I said. And sometimes, a little fire in the background. She raised an eyebrow. Fire? Past mistakes, past betrayals, I said honestly. They teach you more than comfort ever will. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. I can see that. And it suits you. I felt a quiet satisfaction. Not vindictive, not harsh, just life moving forward, recognizing my growth. For the first time in months, I felt completely untethered from Claire and Daniel, their faces flickering in memory but carrying no weight. Lucas joined us, sipping coffee. Looks like you've got someone intrigued. I shrugged lightly. It's nice. But more than that, it's refreshing to meet people without past baggage clouding things. The office buzzed around us. Projects were progressing, connections forming, trust earned through competence. No one questioned my abilities now. Influence had replaced doubt, and respect had replaced humiliation. During lunch, Emily joined me and Lucas. You've really changed the atmosphere here, she said. It's more collaborative, more energetic. I had to change first, I said. Everything else followed naturally. She nodded, smiling. It's inspiring, actually. Watching someone turn challenges into motivation. It's powerful. Later that evening, I walked home, the city lights reflecting a sense of calm I hadn't felt in years. Claire and Daniel were no longer central to my thoughts. Their regret was irrelevant. My life had shifted. I had become someone who wasn't dependent on approval, who thrived through authenticity and competence. I called Emma. Hey, I said. Finally, she laughed. You're glowing. I mean it. You're different in the best way. I feel different, I admitted. Not angry, not consumed. Just free. That's huge, she said. You've really come far. I'm proud of you. I smiled, warmth spreading through me. It wasn't easy. But every step, the betrayal, the humiliation, the calculated moves, it all led here. I finally understand that reclaiming your life isn't about revenge. It's about transformation. Emma laughed softly. Wise words, philosopher. But true. I ended the call and stepped onto the balcony, looking out over the city. The past no longer haunted me. The pain I had once carried now existed as a tool, a reminder of resilience, focus, and self-respect. I didn't need to confront Claire or Daniel again. Their impact on my life had already been neutralized by my own evolution. The door opened behind me. You okay? Emily's voice was gentle, concerned. Better than okay, I said. Content. I'm in control. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like I can breathe. She smiled softly. I'm glad. You deserve that. We watched the city lights together, and for a moment, I let myself imagine a future untainted by past betrayals. One built entirely on choice, growth, and genuine connection. The next morning at the office, I noticed subtle shifts again. People reached out, asked for advice, appreciated guidance. The projects I led were thriving. The respect I earned was tangible, unshakable. Lucas leaned over during a break. You've really become someone people listen to. Someone worth following. I nodded, calm. It's not about power, Lucas. It's about presence, about being unshakable. People respect what they can't manipulate or undermine. Emily joined us, holding a file. By the way, we could use your insight on the new initiative. I think your approach could really make a difference. I smiled faintly. Let's tackle it together. Collaboration beats competition any day. Later that evening, I reflected quietly in my apartment. Claire and Daniel were distant memories now, shadows of a life I had outgrown. I felt no bitterness, only a sense of clarity. Every lesson learned, every moment of pain endured, had forged me into someone resilient, self-assured, and genuinely content. I whispered softly to myself, a private acknowledgement of the journey. The betrayal became my catalyst. The humiliation became my fuel. And through it all, I discovered something greater than revenge. my own strength, my own dignity, my own life. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about what I lost. I was thinking about everything I had gained. And as I stood by the window, city lights sparkling below, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: peace. Not loud, not triumphant, just steady, unwavering, and real. The past had shaped me, but it no longer controlled me. I was free. I sat alone on the balcony that evening, the city lights sparkling like tiny promises beneath me. A quiet breeze stirred, and I realized I hadn't felt this calm in years. It was strange, almost foreign, to be at peace without needing to prove anything to anyone. Emma called. "Hey, you okay? You've been quiet all day." "I'm fine," I said softly. "Better than fine, actually. I'm reflecting." "Reflecting?" she asked, amusement in her voice. "Sounds serious." "It is," I admitted. "I've been thinking about everything. The betrayal, the humiliation, the anger. How it felt like my world had shattered. And now," I paused, taking a deep breath. "Now it feels like all of it was a tool. Each moment, each mistake, each heartbreak, they shaped me into someone stronger." Emma was quiet on the other end. Then she said gently, "Sounds like you've really grown. Not just in power but in wisdom." "I think so," I said. "I've stopped seeing Claire and Daniel as enemies. They're reminders. Reminders that life isn't always fair, that people aren't always honest, and that trust can be misplaced. But more importantly, reminders that pain can be transformed into strength if you let it." There was a pause. Then Emma laughed softly. "Look at you, philosopher. Who knew betrayal could turn into a life lesson?" I chuckled faintly. "I forgive myself for being naive. I forgive myself for trusting too easily. And I accept that betrayal isn't the end, it's the beginning of understanding your own limits, your own potential." I leaned back, letting the cool night air fill me. "It's strange, isn't it? I spent so long thinking about revenge, about making them pay. But the real reward isn't in seeing them falter. It's in reclaiming myself, my confidence, my dignity. That's something no one can take from me." "Sounds like you've closed that chapter," Emma said quietly. "I have," I replied. "Not with anger or resentment, but with clarity. I can look back and see the journey, the transformation, the lessons. Claire and Daniel, their mistakes, their arrogance, they were catalysts, not prisons. And I've grown beyond them." I thought about the nights I had spent plotting, strategizing, rising above humiliation. Every conversation, every subtle action, every calculated move, it all built me. Not just for revenge but for life. For respect. For self-assurance. "Do you ever think about them?" Emma asked gently. "Sometimes," I admitted. "But not with bitterness. Not with desire for revenge. Only as distant memories. They're part of my past, but they don't define my present or my future. I've learned that closure isn't about making someone else suffer. It's about healing yourself." I closed my eyes, letting the city's hum settle into a comforting rhythm. "I see now that power without peace is hollow. Influence without integrity is empty. The most important victory wasn't in their humiliation, it was in my own growth. My ability to reclaim my life and my confidence." Emma's voice came softly again. "You sound content." "Truly. I am," I said. "Content and grateful. Grateful for the lessons, the challenges, even the pain. Each moment was necessary. Each heartbreak a stepping stone." I thought about the person I had been before Claire and Daniel betrayed me, trusting, naive, easily dismissed. And I contrasted it with who I am now, self-assured, respected, aware of my strengths and limits. The difference wasn't just in appearance or status, it was in understanding, in inner clarity. "I've realized something else," I said quietly. "Life moves on. People change. Opportunities arise when you focus on growth instead of revenge. My story is no longer about them. It's about me, my choices, my resilience, my self-respect. And that is infinitely more powerful than any act of revenge could ever be." Emma laughed softly. "I always knew you'd get here. Just took a little dramatic journey, huh?" "Dramatic, yes. Necessary, absolutely," I said. "And worth every moment. The betrayal became my lesson, the humiliation my catalyst, and the anger my fuel. But the transformation became my life." I looked out over the city again, the lights reflecting in my eyes. I felt no lingering resentment, no desire to revisit the past. The people who had hurt me had served their purpose, not as villains but as mirrors showing me what I was capable of. "I'm at peace now," I whispered to myself. "Not because they suffered but because I reclaimed everything that truly matters. my confidence, my dignity, my life. And that's enough. Emma said softly, sounds like you're ready for the next chapter. I am, I replied, smiling faintly. And this time it's entirely mine. The night stretched quietly around me. I felt the calm certainty of someone who had faced betrayal, endured humiliation, and emerged stronger, wiser, and unshakably in control. Claire and Daniel would always exist somewhere in memory, but they were irrelevant. My story was no longer theirs. It belonged solely to me, and that truth felt more powerful, more liberating than I could have imagined. I closed my eyes and let the city's hum wash over me, a quiet affirmation of everything I had gained, everything I had learned, and everything I had finally reclaimed. My past had shaped me, but it no longer controlled me. And for the first time I felt complete.